Hi, I'm Chad Shumaker, and I'm here today with Mr. Jim Shamel. Now, Jim's son, Carson, was one of the very first students in Jim Howell's program, Special Need for Music. Jim, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing just fine, sir. I'm glad you can come out and join us.
Glad to be here.
Now, when you heard about this program that Jim was doing, how did you get involved? When did you first learn about it? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, there was no program. My son Carson was at the middle school. He was in Mrs. Cox's special needs class. She did a fantastic job with him. But we knew as parents, with his needs that he had, he would never do the extracurricular activities that most kids would do. He would never play football. He'd never do basketball, baseball, any of that stuff. We were just trying to find something else for him to get involved with. So my wife actually sent, he loves music. Carson has loved music his whole life. So my wife sent Nan a message and just asked her if there was something maybe we could get him involved with music class. Since he was so fond of music, was there something we would be able to do? We weren't expecting a whole lot. And then, Nan had spoke with Mr. Howell and sent us a message that he was going to try to bring Carson down to the music class and see what happened. So that's how it all got started.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that having Carson involved in the music room went on for several weeks, and then he started to get some of the, that is to say, Jim started to get some of the other students involved. Now, what did you find out about that right away, that it became kind of a group thing?
Like you said, we started out with Carson at first just to see how he would do. And of course we didn't have a whole lot of expectations because Carson's so low functioning with things. But Mr. Howell got some of these drums here. I'm not sure exactly what the technical term for them is. But Carson would sit and hit it, and make some music with the other kids. And then we found out later down the road, like you said, a few weeks later, that some of the other kids were coming down and getting involved, and it just kind of evolved from there.
Right. Now, ultimately, of course, Jim's lessons would keep going and going and going until he decided, you know what, I'm going to do a concert. So what was that experience like to, first of all, when you heard that there was going to be a concert? What were as a parent with a student that functions like Carson did, did you have concerns or worries or anything like that?
I didn't. Mr. Howell really took this thing and ran with it. Like I say, we really didn't have a whole lot of expectations, but we got that first poster he sent home that they were going to do a concert. And I didn't really know what to expect. I know they invited all the parents, they invited the school board members, some of the teachers, and again, we really weren't sure what was going to happen. And it was just phenomenal to see those kids, all those kids together with the aides that were in there, and the things that Mr. Howell had them doing, playing the music and the maracas and the tambourines and all this different stuff that he had involved was just incredible as a parent to be able to see that.
Now, you were able to attend that night. Did you have any guests with you?
My mom and dad went. My mother-in-law went. I think my sister was there. The room was pretty much packed from what I can remember.
Full house.
Full house, yeah.
When you got to see him perform that first time, and you really got, you saw him participating with other kids. The music, was he clearly enjoying himself?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How did you feel?
It was phenomenal. Like I say, we knew Carson would never do any of the normal extracurricular activities. We never fathomed that there would be a time when Carson would be able to perform in a concert with other kids in a school program. We never ever imagined that. And to see, and it wasn't just Carson, you see the looks on all those kids' faces, the smiles, and they're rocking with the music and playing the music, and the parents are sitting there crying because
I was going to say
they finally see their kids involved. It's bringing back memories to me now.
Sure.
But it was phenomenal. just absolutely unbelievable to see that.
You got to sit back and you saw not just your reaction. obviously you had very genuine feelings there, and just of just wow. But it had to be great to see the other parents there too.
Those kids for just a few minutes were normal. You know what I mean? Because for so long, people think, well, they can't do this because they've got special needs. And like I told you, I don't like to call them special needs kids. I like to call them special kids with needs.
Right.
And to see those kids finally be able to participate, and their parents be able to come to the school and see their kids participating in something is something that'll never get taken away from us or any of the other parents.
Was Carson able to communicate with you how he felt?
No, I mean, Carson's nonverbal,
right.
you know, but I mean, you could just see when he's sitting there rocking and laughing and, you know, hitting the drum.
Yeah.
And I mean, just, you know, the excitement, you know, we've been around Carson, of course, our whole life. So we you know when he's mad, you know when he's happy, you know when, and I mean, he was just thrilled. You could just see it. His body language was just, he was happy.
Now, after the concert, in the days that followed, do you think that there was a change in him, and maybe an eagerness or different emotions that he was feeling from participating and from beginning to do something like that? Do you feel that it had an effect on him?
Oh, absolutely. I think it did. And of course, like I say, with being nonverbal, it's hard to you know, you can't communicate that with him. But I believe that his aide at the time was Mrs. Young.
Yes.
And, you know, we talked to her and she said he loved, you know, when she would say, hey, Carson, it's time to go to music, you know, he'd jump up out of that chair and he knew his way to the music room and, you know, he would go. And
right.
It just, you just knew that it was something, finally, that he was able to do something that he was enjoying.
Right. Now, that was, of course, middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And when you found out that Mr. Howell was going to continue this at the high school, was there a sense of excitement there for you?
Well, yeah, you know, we wanted Carson to be involved. And, you know, like I say, when we started this out, we thought maybe it was just something Carson could go do once a week in music. We never dreamed that there would be a concert. We never dreamed there'd be, you know, 3 or 4 concerts a year. We never dreamt that it would go to the high school level. It was just, you know, it was above our expectations of what Mr. Howe did with this program.
Right. Carson still enjoying music?
Oh yeah, every day.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he sits at home with his headphones on and listens. It doesn't matter what genre is. He, you know, country, Christian, rock. It doesn't matter. He listens to it all. So
that is awesome. That is fantastic. Yeah. Now, as a parent who's been through the program, who's seen what this music and this program can do for a special kid with needs, what would you say to administrators, policymakers that would encourage them to want to maybe adopt this program for their own school?
I would encourage anybody to make any kind of concessions they could to include something like this in their school. You know, it wasn't much. I mean, it was a lot, but as far as time, it was maybe a half hour. You know, I think Carson went to music a couple times a week, so, you know, a half hour here and there. You know, of course, Mr. Howell put a lot of the time in. You know, it's just, like I say, it gives these, I think sometimes we, and I don't want this to be negative, but sometimes I think we take these kids and we push them in the corner because we think, well, there's not much they can do. Sure. But, you know, if you expand those options to these kids, we had a doctor once told us about Carson, you need to include him in everything that you guys do because you don't know what he's taken in and what he's going to be capable of. So I think giving these kids the opportunity to even just participate, and like I say, it wasn't just Carson. You could see it on all the kids. They were just thrilled to be able to be somewhere with other kids like them and participating in a program at school.
What would you say to any other teachers that would like to get this implemented? Any advice to them or any words to them?
I would contact your music teacher. I'd contact your principal. You know, show them the video, tell them about what happened, and you know, see what you can make work. I know Mr. Howell has applied for some grants to be able to fund some of the equipment because it's not cheap. You know, these drums aren't cheap. But you know, there were times they have, you know, maybe 10 kids in this group. So it wasn't just 2 or 3, it was a group of, you know, 8, 9, 10, and that kind of gets expensive. But, you know, there was grants out there through the Claymont Foundation. I know Mr. Howell applied for a couple of those and got them. I know he had some, you know, help from some companies who, you know, make the drums and different things like that to kind of, you know, give him some help. So it's possible. It just takes some initiative, you know, to get that moving. So
sure. One last question for you, and I think this is one that I would hope would resonate with a lot of people. Education and music, do they need to be together? Are they important?
Absolutely. You know, I was on a school board for 12 years.
Yes.
You know that.
Yes.
And it always amazed me, 99% of the calls I got were about sports. You know, but, you know, it's kind of like the cheerleading thing. You know, a lot of people say cheerleading's not a sport. Those kids work just as hard as the football team, basketball team. The band kids work just as hard as the football team, the basketball team. It's just different gifts that these kids have. You know, I don't think there should ever be a time when education doesn't involve music. You know, I've seen firsthand the experience of it. You know, not just with the typical kids. You know, I attended a lot of concerts in my day as a school board member, the choir, the band. You know, I went out a couple times to, you know, the band camp that they had before football season. And these kids, it's what they do. And they shouldn't have to worry about not having that opportunity.
Very good. Well, Mr. Shamel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And
thank you.
Thank you very much for your support of the program.
Absolutely.
All right.